This is going to be a lot of fun. It's time for the first of a two-part series in which Matt and I speak with a current public school teacher. The Christian Principles podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation, but bear in mind, the thoughts and opinions expressed on this show are those of the hosts and not necessarily of the Herzog Foundation.
Welcome to the Christian Principles Podcast. I'm Matt George.
And I'm Mark Zockoll. Tonight, an interesting night, a fun night, exciting night. We've been playing on this for a while. Actually, we set the groundwork for this a long time ago, in so much that I was communicating with our guest and asked her to come on the pod months ago. And then we got busy. She's busy. Matt's busy. Life gets to us. And we mentioned previously we were having a little bit of content fatigue. And again, we know that we could talk about a million different things that happen in our school. So we're not worried about content not being there. It's more just we hit a rut with some of our content. And so I knew right away I wanted to go and speak with Christine, who joins us this evening. Christine happens to be a public school teacher. Christine, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Hey, we are pumped to have you. Now, um, for further understanding of, again, Matt never met Christine before our conversation right now. I have it would be like a professional relationship with Christine, in so much that my children uh, and her have interactions when she
Mhm.
is serving in the community somewhere.
Mhm.
So that's how I got to know her, got to know her background. Then I said, hey, would you do this rando podcast? Would you be willing to come on and share your viewpoints with us, what it is that you do? Help me be more knowledgeable about the public school system, that in education, that when we deal with everything from laws to why a student ratio might happen to be there, or we're talking so much talk about school choice now and things like that. It should be something where we are seeking out the opinions of those who are in what is, of course, the vast majority of education in the United States, which is public school education, because we are going to be influenced so much by what it is that our students going there, their students coming to us, the roles, the union. We could just keep going on and on, of course. But I want to try not to say the other side, right? I don't want to say the other side tonight, but let's hear from a peer, a peer educator tonight. So with all that being said, and knowing that Christine has no ties to us, and she doesn't really have to care about us after this evening so much, she is going to be truly free to say what she wants to say. We're not going to get a lot of specific information from Christine about where she works and all that sort of thing. She's going to be general with us, and that's absolutely awesome and fine. You're going to take our word for it. Our faithful listeners, if you don't trust us now, stop listening to us. But you can take our word for it that she is who she says she is. And with that being said, we think we've qualified all I really care to qualify. Matt, don't need to qualify anything else. We're good to go.
I think we're good.
We're well qualified. All right. Christine, thank you so much again.
Mhm.
Tell us your story about when you decided to get into education. Were you a kid? Was it a parent? Was it an aunt, uncle? Was it a teacher you had? What was your story about coming into education?
Um, I worked as a camp counselor when I was in high school, and that kind of like really started my love for working with kids. I also kind of thought about like myself as a student, and I was not that good at language arts. I wasn't that good at math. So I was like, what am I going to major in? I don't know, probably education because it seems like the easiest, but that's not really why I went into education. I truly do love working with kids and helping them reach their goals because, like I said, I struggled a little bit when I was a kid, and I had some really great teachers that helped me like persevere and become the woman I am today with a master's education and everything like that. So I don't have like any like mushy gushy story of like this teacher really changed my life, but I just like I genuinely love working with kids. They are so forgiving, and you can truly learn so much as they can learn from you. So
It was great to hear you started camp counselor. Matt,
yeah.
Matt was camp counselor. I was
Mhm.
camp counselor. Now,
Mhm.
were you in a camp far away from your home? Was it camp you visited when you were a kid? Like, what your camp counseling background, was that far away,
Yeah,
near? What was it?
so I grew up in New Jersey, and the camp that I worked at was at the preschool that I went to.
Okay.
So I there wasn't preschool like in the elementary schools like there is around
Mhm.
here.
Mhm, mhm.
So I had to go to a separate preschool than my elementary school. So it was kind of like I had a connection through that, and then they had a camp in the summer. So it was kind of like my first job because I think I was like a freshman or a sophomore in high school when I
Yeah.
started working there.
Now, was that a private school, or was, because you said they didn't have a it wouldn't have been a Head Start program.
Yeah, I think it was a private preschool.
Okay, cool.
I'm not sure if I started at 3 or 4, but I do think
Mhm.
I went there for at least 2 or 3 years.
Well, cool, awesome.
Mhm.
Alright, you mentioned your degree. What are your
Yeah.
degrees? You don't tell us where you came from, but what do you hold?
Mhm. I have a bachelor's degree in elementary education. So that certified me to teach. Well, I also had to take the practices.
Mhm.
Uh,
So I was certified to teach 1 through 6, and then I went back into the early ed practice. So I'm certified pre-K through 6.
wow.
And then I graduated with my master's in school counseling.
Hmm,
Wow.
Mhm.
awesome.
Awesome.
What roles have you held to this point in your education? So what specific, in-school roles? And did you get a job right out of college?
I did. Yep. I graduated in 2017 and started as a first grade teacher. I was a first grade teacher for 2 years. And then I moved to second grade for 2 years. And then the last 4 years, I was a kindergarten teacher. And then this is my first year as a school counselor in a middle school.
And God bless you. I
Yeah, all the things that
but
I
just
don't wanna do.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
middle school, okay, I'll make it happen. Upper school, of course, like, the secondary, that's where I cut my teeth, but, man, when there are elementary issues, I just or when
Yeah.
there were those primary issues, I was like, "Listen, I can
Mhm.
have them, like, not like I'll give them candy, or, not that I wouldn't have a conversation
Oh,
with them, they get sent down to the
I
office or
used
something, but I
candy a
just
lot as a teacher, I did. Skittles. Skittles were the best. And Skittles
skills are there we
gummies
go.
and
Insight, folks, insight.
yeah.
No, I hear you. I just, there were certain times I would go and find one of my lead teachers in elementary, like, "Okay, what would you do right now? Because
Mhm.
I'm this wasn't in the administrative playbook that I read, so you need to help me out with this
Mhm.
right now." 'Cause I
Yeah.
oh, man, but no, that's the part of education that's the section of education that I want to go and to, like, be Dr. Zockoll and shake up the classroom, give them a good time, then leave. I wanna go read them a
Mhm.
story and then get out of there, because
Yeah.
it's not what God blessed me with. Matt, are you
Yeah.
there too, or would you
I
park there if you
am.
could?
The one time I got put in a situation where I had to teach the kindergartners, the kindergarten teacher wanted me to teach them how to make caramel apples. That was the lesson plan. Are you kidding me? It was about the worst case scenario possible. In a
Oh,
kitchen with
man.
boiling caramel. No, this is not the way we do this.
Listen, I remember I'm were you a teacher when I asked everybody to do an upside down day? I asked you to flip with a different
That's
teacher
what
in
it
the building.
was. It is totally your fault. That's exactly what that was.
That was a
Yes,
wonderful day. That was a great day. That was a
that was the
the
day.
upside down day.
Yep.
I got a lot of notes from teachers on that day, and they weren't all horrible. There was a lot of, like, and the kids loved it, though. The kids,
There
they
were good
loved.
things. Yeah, the kindergarten was the worst part of that whole day, but there were other
Well,
good
they
good
love the
parts of it.
idea of, like, going and doing something with somebody else that they wouldn't otherwise see, and teachers like seeing what the other teachers were doing too, so,
Yeah,
heads up on
yeah.
that. Alright, Christine, do you have a best moment of my professional life as a teacher so far? Or I should say as an educator, of course, with school counseling now, but
I did get honored with being my school's teacher of the year a couple years ago. So to like
oh,
that to me, that was kind of like the pivotal of being a teacher, just being recognized for my hard work. Um,
okay.
but I mean, like every day, I feel like there was something that I could say was wonderful.
Mm.
So, yeah.
On that same note, we don't talk about the B word. We don't say burnout too much around on this podcast because it's a scary thing. But
Mhm.
did you come to a point either, and we often see, of course, with freshman teachers, and then maybe after you put in what, 7 years, 8 years in the classroom as a homeroom teacher. Did you have a
Yeah.
point which was burnout for you? Would you be willing to talk us through that to some extent?
Yeah, to be honest, last year was kind of like my breaking point, not breaking point, but like I was teaching kindergarten. I was doing an internship for my master's. Like, well, I was in my school, but I was losing a period of planning to teach a character
Mm,
lesson and just doing after school on top of finishing my master's, on top of the behaviors that have stemmed since COVID. So I went to my principal last spring and I was like, listen, if I don't get a counseling position next year, I need a grade level change.
mm,
Mm.
mm.
Just it was just it had gotten to the point where I love kindergarten, but it had gotten really hard with just the changes in behavior and the needs. And yeah, I do feel like I had burned out, and I love being a teacher, but I don't really miss being in the classroom right now.
Interesting. Could you, if you're
Mhm.
willing, could you walk us through what that looks like for you? If I was talking to one of our private school teachers, I don't know if it'd be the same thing. I want to hear from you if you're willing to tell us what you talked about, things stemming from COVID. You talked about behaviors. Could you tell us anything more about that in as specific a detail as you would care to? Like, what behaviors were we facing? What was there a people who know our show know that we're from Maryland. We're not going to go much past that, but we were actually just generally recently looking at even the class sizes, and seeing that
Mhm.
the county that we are in was a county that had significantly higher class sizes than the rest of the state. W-
Mhm.
did that touch you at all? Would you mind going into that for a little bit for us?
Yeah,
Sure.
I had probably, I don't remember my class size last year, maybe 21, 22 kindergartners.
Mm-hmm.
But I had no extra set of hands.
Mm.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
Just you.
I did not have a full-time EA. I would
Mm-hmm.
get people in my classroom every once in a while to help support.
When you say all day, just for clarity, they showed up off, you know, off the bus in the hall. They show up to you. You had them from 8:30 to 3 with maybe a
No,
couple
no, no, no.
specials. Okay, what what
Yeah.
what was your day
Yeah,
with
yeah,
them?
yeah. So they got off the bus at 7:30. They ate breakfast, so instruction started around 8.
Okay.
I would teach from like 8:30 to 9:30, and then they would have an hour of two different specials, so 30 minutes each. And then so they kind of blocked it for us. So I would have an hour of specials, and then they would go to recess and lunch. Um, so that was
Were
like
you
two
on duty
hours in
for
the middle
recess
of
and
the
lunch?
day. Sometimes I would
Were
have to
you on duty?
cover Sometimes I would have to cover recess, if they didn't have enough coverage, or like on a half day, we would cover our own recess. But I would have PLCs during their recess time, which is,
Okay.
like time
Okay.
when you get together with like coordinators or your team to plan and look
Ooh.
at data.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Yep.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then after they got back around like 11:30. Then I had them, yeah, till about 2:33 when dismissal started.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And your content time throughout the day, when you
Mhm.
had them, it was expected content time.
Yeah.
So it
So in the
there wasn't
morning,
yeah. Mhm.
not really, like we would try to squeeze in center time because we think play is important. Um, but it wasn't like really built into our schedule. So I would
Mhm.
teach like reading in the morning from 8 to 9:30, and then they would get back from lunch, and then we would have like their phonics lesson. And then it would be math, and then you're supposed to build in time for science and social studies, but that always sometimes gets pushed to the wayside because it's not as important as the core
Mhm.
curriculums.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then depending on like time, we would try to squeeze in some playtime for them at the end of the day and snack.
Gotcha. No, I hear
Hmm.
that. I hear that with the science and the social studies, right, Matt? I mean,
Yeah.
that's nothing new. Absolutely. I did have a question for you as a K-5 teacher in the public
Yeah.
school system. Were you expecting to have your students reading at the end of your time with them? Or what was a valid expectation, or what was passed down to you to expect? What was your personal expectation? Again, help me
Hmm.
out.
Yeah. So by the end of kindergarten, they were expected to be reading, using their knowledge of sight words. They had to know like 60 sight words by the end of kindergarten.
Mhm.
So using that
Okay.
knowledge and like their ability to decode, they were expected to be reading pretty good books. Not like it's
Mhm.
hard to
Sure.
describe because I don't want to like state the reading program that's used,
Yeah, yeah,
but
Sure,
sure,
no,
sure. Yeah,
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 that makes sense.
they were
appropriate lexical scored books, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So they were expected to be reading by the end of kindergarten and know 60
Cool.
plus sight words, be able to write sentences and like decode and tap out words and all that stuff.
That's a new one on me. What's a tap out word?
So like, all right, spell the word cat. How do we spell cat? At cat. And then
Mhm.
they build the word based on tapping it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that tap, that's a vocal tap. They're not actually, like, striking something?
No, you like tap your fingers. Like you start with your
That's what
pointer
okay.
or your yeah, pointer
Yeah.
finger. Yep.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. When
Mhm.
Matt did that, now that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Not that you weren't
I
making
I
sense. I
could be a
just
kindergarten teacher. I really could.
No, you couldn't. I wouldn't put my kid there. No.
Yeah, visuals help.
Absolutely. Did you feel like that was an appropriate ask of you? Did you feel like you were drowning with 21 students? Did you feel like you were like, I mean, if you were the top teacher at one point, was that your kindergarten time or first and second grade time when you were
Yeah,
honored
no,
with that honor?
it was my second year teaching kindergarten.
Cool. So did you feel like that was an appropriate ask for you and what you could do and what those students could do? Was it inappropriate ask? How'd you feel about that?
Um, it was a lot, I think, for them. It depends on because we had some kids that went to pre-K and had
Mhm.
that like kind of background knowledge, and then we had some kids that came in with absolutely no background, like
Mm,
didn't
mm,
even know the letters of the alphabet. So there were different ranges of abilities and
absolutely.
kind of like the tier 1 instruction for some of those kids was a little too much when they needed a lot lower than what the tier
Mm,
1 was. Um, so it definitely was a lot, but I do see the benefit of it. But thinking back to what I did in kindergarten, I went to a half day of kindergarten.
mhm.
It's just they expect a lot of these 5-year-olds now.
Mhm.
That's a common refrain. I think of actually Matt's kindergarten teacher, not the one who taught him kindergarten. Lord bless her soul,
Hmm.
wherever she is right now, but the one that she's talked about the kindergarten teacher previous to her there at the school. Talked about the half day, talking about a nap in the second half of the day, and
Hmm.
and we've seen that. Even we've talked before about when did K-5 become the expected start of school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even as you're pointing out, Christine, like the thought of, "Ooh," at some point, is it fair to either one of the students when they start earlier to have them all start together? When some have gone to pre-K, some haven't, and they're sponges. I mean, you'd say the same, I'm sure. They're sponges at that age. Like
Hmm.
they have the ability to catch up, largely speaking. Now, let me
Yeah.
ask you this too. In kindergarten, they're not walking into your classroom with IEPs and 504s.
Oh yeah, they
So,
are. Yeah, they
oh,
I was
I
gonna
take it
I was
back.
gonna ask that because I was running into that a little bit as some IEPs for kindergartners.
Chrissy, could you walk
Yeah,
us through? Obviously,
IEP
I was wrong about that. Could you walk us through that
they
then?
Yeah, they definitely come in with IEPs. 504s not so much,
Mhm.
but definitely IEPs. I'm
Based
not
off
a
of what though? Because if I'm thinking, because when I say that, I'm thinking of a K. You had mentioned some had not gone to pre-K before, so
mhm,
I'm thinking when they show up in September or late August, when they show up
mhm.
and they're starting with you, you're saying they actually enter prior to that. Some of them enter prior to that, their first day of formal education, or you're saying within that first half a year, they're already um, being provided with those. Just help me understand.
Well, for the ones that do go to pre-K,
Mhm.
they would get it in pre-K, but some
Did
like you
not know
mentioned,
that.
some like you mentioned, like a jumpstart program, they can get
Mhm.
an IEP through that as well.
Interesting. What was, if I may, just roundabout percentages. We talking about 30, 40%, 25% of your classroom that would have a noted need and a
Well,
plan?
yeah, I actually was the inclusion teacher for like
Mhm.
2 years. I want to say on average, we had to start actually splitting the kids between two classes because the needs were so high.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Um, on average, in a grade level, there's five to six IEPs. Um, but I've talked to a girlfriend who still works at the school that I used to teach at, and she's saying that the pre-K now has like 10, 12 IEPs, and like the kindergartners now might have like 10. There's 10
Mm.
IEPs. And
And
I
if
don't
you're
know what's changing because that's a conversation I've had with a lot of people. Like, what is changing from when we were younger?
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
there was maybe two in entire school, and now it's several in a grade level. Is it what we're eating? Is it what's
Yeah.
happening when the parents are pregnant? But it's definitely appearing younger and younger.
Mhm. No, those long discussions about that, absolutely. No, I I am professionally better for knowing you because I did not realize that they were coming in
Hmm.
or they were provided those in a Head Start program. I didn't realize
Yeah.
that. So there we go.
Hmm.
So just to get my numbers right, there was a possibility that you would have had 20, we'll just say 20 students where
Hmm.
you did not have an assigned extra set of hands to you that was legitimately in your room as a para, whatever you want to say.
Hmm.
And you could and you did have 5, 6, 7 of those students who were student with needs.
Yeah. So if I
Interesting.
was the inclusion class, I would have an extra set of hands.
Mhm.
Oh, okay,
So
gotcha.
yeah. So when I was the inclusion class, I have the special education teacher who would come in and support, and she would be in the classroom during all academic times, just like I had to be. And then when we started splitting the kids between two classes, they would have an EA or an instructional assistant in the classroom with us when the special education teacher was in the other classroom. So
Okay.
yes, if I do have students with special needs, I would have an extra set of hands, but if I was just like a regular general education teacher, then I
No.
wasn't as lucky because there's not many EAs. They don't get paid like
Mhm,
anything.
mhm.
They're like dime a dozen and they're spread everywhere else. And a lot of them were being used to monitor behaviors instead of monitoring special education students.
Gotcha,
So,
yeah.
hmm
As a counselor, do you mind talking to us about that a little bit as a school counselor now? The even starting there, the use of faculty and staff members to pulled towards behaviors rather pulled towards academics?
hmm yeah, I mean, it's definitely frustrating. I mean, being in a counselor position, seeing the help that these teachers need, the lack of help that they're getting, and just with the vast amount of needs, because so these like middle schoolers were severely affected by COVID. They were in like pivotal years when it hit. So so many of them are significantly below grade level, and are struggling to, and these teachers have to just teach them at their grade level when they're
Yeah.
not even really able to like do the work because they have to teach tier 1. So they need like extra set of hands are needed for those students who are behind that need that extra support, but there's just not the means for it. It definitely happened a lot more in the younger grades where the EAs would get pulled for behaviors. But like I am the 504 case manager now,
Mm,
so I'm trying to help support the teachers where, and a lot of the 504s are support for like ADHD or ODD, which
Mhm.
do have behavior issues. So I feel
mhm,
like I'm kind of getting pulled as a counselor to help support these like one, two, three students when there's 500 students in the school just because
mhm.
they don't have the support that they need.
Matt, you can stop me whatever you want. I know I'm driving this with the questions or whatnot, but in your current role as a counselor, what are some common behaviors you're seeing? What are teachers asking you for help with? What are the plans demanding that you help with?
Refusal, avoidance, eloping, aggression, physical and verbal.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, a lot of those.
Um, when you say physical, verbal, and you are still in an elementary setting,
Mhm.
are you seeing that in K-5 students? Are you seeing that in the 5th graders that you're I guess with 4th graders you're working with? Or is there it's a smattering, it's all over the board?
I Yeah, I mean, the younger ones definitely are struggling a lot with, um, like, being told no
Mhm,
and understanding that concept, and understanding the fact that they can't do whatever they want because
mm.
they come to school and they have structure and they're expected to do this work when then they go home and they basically can do whatever they want and get away with whatever they want. So I
Now
think,
part if I
yeah,
may, just if you are the master's trained, currently employed professional.
uh-huh.
Can you give me Christine's world viewpoint concerning that right there? You talked earlier about, we wonder if it's a change in food, you wonder if a change in, whatnot that's bringing students to these greater
Age.
IEPs and plans, whereas what it used to be, without being the old lady on a porch, "Get off my lawn." Like, do you
Mhm.
do you have a greater worldview thought as to why you think that students aren't receiving the no as well as you did or
Um,
your
Parenting.
so
They parents aren't saying no, they're giving their kids whatever they want. Their kid is always right. And then they're sticking a device in front of them and
mm,
not really interacting, or they throw a fit, they stick a device in front of them. They're not like reprimanding them. It's like, oh, you want this? Okay, here it is.
Well, I'll ask, what is the expected parental,
sure.
interaction, or, when you're experiencing those issues at school, uh, how far is it, we just have to deal with this here as we can deal with it, or are we still getting parents involved in the solutions?
I mean, it depends on the parent, really. Some parents are willing to come in and willing to support at home. Some parents don't care.
Mhm.
They they're like, "Oh, well, they don't do that at home." So,
Yeah.
it just really depends on the parent and the family and like the area you're at, I guess.
Here's another question for you. As a homeroom teacher, do you think you had better relationships with the parents than you do as the school counselor?
Yeah, I think so because like those were my kids. I only had 20 kids, so I would be
Mhm,
like constantly communicating with the parents when they were misbehaving or not doing their work or
mhm.
stuff like that. And we use, I don't know if you guys use this, but there's an app called Class Dojo where it's
Mhm.
basically you can like text
Oh,
the
yes.
parents,
Yeah.
give out points and all that stuff. So that like
You
made
probably
communication a lot easier.
you probably
But
had the
like as
full
a
you probably
yeah, go
had the
ahead.
full version you probably had the full version of it where we've only had the we only play with
We
the
just
free
do the
version.
free
We just did the
version.
free
Yeah.
version. But
Well,
anyway,
yeah.
no, I hear you. No, Glass Dojo, praise God for it,
Hmm.
absolutely. Those developers, they're making some
Yeah.
coin, that's for sure, they're making some coin. Uh,
But as a
no
counselor, I still communicate with parents, but just like I guess on a different aspect. Like when a student's emotional or they get into a conflict or like they're having mental health issues, then I'll like contact the parents.
Mhm,
And like I said, I'm the 504 case manager, so I have to
Mhm.
contact families and have parent meetings for like reviewing their 504s and that stuff.
Now, I had a very brief stint in public education where was involved in I want to say it was less than 10 IEP meetings, maybe 7. 7
Mhm.
IEP meetings, and never one time did we have parents show up
Hmm.
to those IEP meetings. Is is that a challenge whenever you have to organize those 504s or you've seen an IEPs of just getting the parents to get on board with that kind of stuff?
Yeah, sometimes a lot of not getting them on board because they want that support for their kid. But it is sometimes a struggle getting them into the school for the
Sure.
meeting. I had to have a 504 where I called the mom because she just couldn't get in to school, but she participated over phone.
Okay.
Um, but I actually haven't had that hard of a time getting families in for 504s. I just try to contact them with enough time
mhm,
to plan, but it's also hard because you have to work around the teacher's schedule,
Right.
so you
mm,
have to fit it into their planning time and hope that that works for the families.
ooh,
Um,
so that playing
so
time gets chewed up even more.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. Never-ending cycle. Well, give us a percentage, if you wouldn't mind. Would you say that you expect 50% of the parents could care less about what you have to say? Would you expect that's a smaller, a larger? From in your current professional opinion, what percentage of the students and the homes you deal with,
Mhm.
what percentage do you think, I don't want to say care, but care enough to communicate with you and participate in that
Mhm.
process?
I, I don't know, maybe like
Okay.
65%.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit more than 50, but not
Not much.
super high.
Yeah.
Not in Christine's perfect world, it would be 100%.
Yeah,
Right.
also yes, but I don't know if I'd enjoy having like helicopter parents, if that
Right.
makes sense. Like I want
Oh,
the
yeah.
Yep.
parents involved, but I don't want it to be constantly like, what did you do to my kid? Why don't they have an A?
Mhm.
Why did you say this to them? Like making it always be my fault kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Did you feel that pressure as a teacher to did you have parents confronting you about A's? "Why did my kid get an A?"
No, no, because I mean, the first and second grade, I did give out letter grades, but
Oh,
for
that's
kindergarten,
true,
it
yeah,
was
there
like
we go.
standard
There we
space.
go.
So it
There we
was
go.
like this person, they can read their
Mhm.
sight words. They're doing it. They're not doing it. They're almost
There
there,
we go.
kind of thing. So
My
yeah,
bad. Bad question, my
yeah.
bad, my bad, my bad, my bad. Um, by the way, it's 35 minutes in. I'm sorry for going way over. We're happy to cut off here and say goodnight and thank you for the time, and make something out of this. If you're willing to go a little bit further, Matt, are you willing to go a little bit further?
Mhm.
Christine, are you willing to go a little bit further? If not, it's totally fine.
Yeah, a little bit.
Uh,
I do have to go to that place where I wash your kids though in the morning. So
No, that's good. Um, uh, there's plenty of content here for us.
sure, yeah. I have 2 full weeks off for winter break, so
Oh, oh man. You know what? It must be nice too. I imagine those are actually breaks now, as opposed to lesson planning breaks.
Yes. Yeah, today actually right before I was telling my hairstylist today that I feel like I have all this free time because I don't have planning, I don't have
Don't have to do
grading,
planning.
I don't have master's class and stuff to do. So I'm
Man.
forcing my husband to do all of these like house projects. And I was literally priming our bathroom before I got on here. So
Nice. Well, we'll say thank you. I'm gonna hit the stop button.
This episode is brought to you by our partners at the Herzog Foundation, whose mission aligns beautifully with ours to advance and support Christ-centered education. The Herzog Foundation exists to catalyze excellence in Christian schools, helping more children experience academic rigor, biblical truth, and strong moral character, all in a safe and nurturing environment. Whether through teacher training, principal development, or strategic media efforts, the Herzog Foundation is committed to helping you, the Christian school leader, fulfill your calling with excellence. Their vision is bold but clear, a national renaissance in Christian education that impacts culture for generations. At the Christian Principles Podcast, we're proud to stand with Herzog Foundation in that mission. Learn more at herzogfoundation.com. Together, we're building schools and futures on the rock of Christ. And as always, tell them that the fellas here at the Christian Principles Podcast sent you their way.
Hey everyone, just a quick pause to talk about GradeLink's fantastic parent app. It keeps families in the loop effortlessly. Parents can check grades, announcements, and their balance from the app. Plus, it uses Face ID, so you don't have to even enter your username and password. If you want to make life a little easier for your school families, head over to cpp.gradelink.com and see how the parent app can help.
You know what? That was a blast. Make sure you listen to the next episode, which will be part 2 of this same conversation. In the meantime, let's hear about Dewey Whitfield, who is the Christian administrator being spotlighted for this episode. Dewey Whitfield is the administrator of Valley Baptist Christian School in Edinburgh, Virginia, and it's time for me to pray for you. Father in heaven, I thank you for Dewey. I thank you for the opportunity he has to interact with the students, with the family, with the teacher, faculty, staff, with the church members, and all else there at Valley Baptist Christian School. I do pray that even as he returns from break, that he would have an awesome time in the upcoming year with those students. In your name, we love you. Amen. Folks, thanks for joining us here on the Christian Principles Podcast, and thanks for growing with us today.
We want to thank you for listening. We're honored that you spend this time with us each week. Our heart is to bring you practical conversations and resources that really serve you as a Christian school leader. One of the best ways you can help us spread the word is by leaving us a review and sharing the podcast with other Christian school principals you're connected with. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Join the conversation and share any posts that resonate with you. Every share makes a difference in helping more leaders find encouragement and practical tools. And remember, the podcast is just one way we help. We also love serving schools through speaking and workshops. Our keynotes and sessions are designed to give you actionable strategies you can take back to your team and implement right away. If you'd like more details, just send us an email at info@christianprinciplespodcast.com. We'd love to connect. Until next time, thanks for joining us on the Christian Principles Podcast.